Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of UFC Talk. Of course, I'm your host, Ross Allen, with Fourth and Long, and joined by UFC correspondent Blake Campbell. Blake, how you feeling tonight? Especially with all the kind of crazy UFC stuff that happened just the day that we're recording this.
Yeah, kind of a big day for all the news, the headlines today. So I wasn't really expecting that on a Tuesday morning,
Right?
a little weird, but I'm all here for it.
Right? I'm not going to complain. Between Hamza and Edwards, between Kevin Holland, between GSP, there's
Yeah.
some interesting names that are going down right now, and some really fun stuff that we need to talk about a little bit. But of course, before we get things fully started, just real quick, if you haven't already, we've had a number of really good UFC names on with interviews recently. Most recent one being Smiling Sam Alvey. We've had a couple others, Sasha Platnikov. We had Alex Morano before his fight with Anthony Pettis, which is also a guy we'll be talking about today. Also, Corey McKenna, one of the newest women's fighters to the UFC roster. Some really good stuff out there. Go check out now at www.thefourthandlong.com, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else you get your podcast. But Blake, the first thing that we need to talk about is originally this is now a fight that's been scrapped twice now. Is this the next cursed fight that we're never going to get? Is this the next Habib and Ferguson with for Hamza and Leon Edwards? They're supposed to fight on that December 17th or a UFC Vegas 17 back in December. And now they're supposed to now fight January 20th in the card made just for them. That was supposed to be on the Wednesday night on Fight Island. Now Hamza Chimaev pulls out of the fight for undisclosed reasons. And is it time to move on from this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that question's already been answered with Edwards calling out new fighters like Jorge Masvidal, other fighters calling him out like Big Mouth, aka Kevin Holland. Love that. So I don't think this is a cursed fight. I love the matchup. It had some great hype going into it, but we don't know the extent of whatever's going on with Hamzat,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not fair to make Edwards wait. Like that dude hasn't fought since I want to say RDA, right? July of 2019 or August maybe.
Yeah.
It was either July or August of 2019. That's about a year and a half that he's been on the shelf. Like we
Mm-hmm.
need to get this guy a paycheck.
Right.
So
And also, I just want to see, most importantly, screw the paycheck. I want to see, is this guy still a contender in that
yeah,
welterweight division? Is he
right.
still legit? Because he's a fantastic fighter. People,
He's ranked number 2 and hasn't fought in a year and a
actually,
half.
number three now, Blake. It's Gilbert
Okay.
Burns to Colby Covington, number one, actually, right now. Of course, Gilbert Burns finally get their fight with Kamaru Usman. He gets his chance. That's been pushed back a number of times now as well. That takes place UFC 258 in February. Man, it's weird this. I mean, we were kind of talking about this earlier, but I feel like the hype for Hamza it's kind of died down, especially with the last couple things going on. Hate to speculate about someone's health, but do you think he there's a real possibility, of course, that first fight was scrapped because Hamza tested positive for the Rona. And maybe he's having some complications in his training from that still. You would hate to see that, but who knows? Of course, as of recording, we don't have any solid news as to why he has pulled out of this, but that's what we have to go with. But Blake, let's talk replacements at least, though. Vicente Luque wants a rematch, and I'm not sure if he gets it, but just from a fight perspective, I would not be opposed to that. Is a spectacle.
I'm cool off that. There's no reason Edwards has to take that fight. And Luque, I mean, what is Luque even ranked right now? Like 8, 9? So,
Vicente
yes.
Luque, he is ranked number 10, so
Oh yeah, see, not even,
higher
yeah,
than Hamzat.
higher than Hamza, but still not going to do anything for Edwards. Like Edwards
No.
is on a title run, right? Like he wants to challenge for that belt. So
Mm-hmm.
he needs if he shuts up Hamzat, and that's a huge plus for him. Everyone's going to think he's doing at least he's doing his job correctly. If he fights somebody that he's already beat, it's not going to have that same shine.
Mm-hmm.
He's not taking out the next Conor McGregor, the next Habib, the next superstar. So I think going the Jorge route, him going and calling out Jorge, it's a good move on his part. There's no chance in hell Jorge takes that fight. Even if he had a full camp, I don't think Jorge takes that fight just because I don't think it's a good matchup for him.
Mm.
Uh, So
Where you say it's only a good matchup if you're not in the octagon, but just kind of like in the back locker room areas.
well, I'm thinking that the fight with, I think Edwards, Usman, and Colby Covington are very, they're pretty similar, I'd say, in their fighting styles.
Mm-hmm.
Very grinded out, high cardio, high endurance, a lot of volume. Um, and I think that Jorge, he's more of a finesse guy, right? He's more of a guy that he could duke it out with the Stephen Thompson a little bit and hold his own, even though he gets beat by him. He's more of a striker. He's more of a guy that I think would prefer to keep it a little cleaner. If it's going to get dirty, he wants to get dirty in the boxing, right? He doesn't want to get too rubbed up, and have his legs humped too much. So
we saw how that worked out for him against Kamaru Usman. Well, it wasn't much leg humping; it was foot stomping.
So and that's just my opinion. I just don't think his fighting style matches up with Edwards, Usman, or Covington. I mean, we saw the best version of, I think, all three of those fighters. Usman take him out pretty easily. So I don't know.
It's kind of tough, trying to find a replacement fighter for Leon Edwards, especially on short notice, especially that top area of. Well, besides within the welterweight division, it's kind of tough because if you look, a great fight would be Leon Edwards and Stephen Thompson, but Stephen under about a 6-month medical suspension from his fight with fantastic fight with Jeff Neal. That was great stuff. And then so he's still kind of out from that. I mean, Jorge Masvidal not taking a short notice like this. Of course, I would love it. Run it back in a little 3-piece Minnesota. Let's get that action in the octagon. But that fight's probably not going to happen. Gilbert Burns is already locked up. We're probably going to see Jorge and Colby Covington. That has to be the fight to make between these two. So I don't see Covington taking this fight, especially because he doesn't have to. He's number 1 contender. He's not going to need to step down to number 3 Leon. But that's where we get our savior, Blake. That's where he steps in. A man that it's a little messy, so let's take it piece by piece. So Kevin Holland has they announced that his next fight, he's going to be fighting Derek Brunson as of now in the main event on March 20th at a UFC fight night. In this, they're finally going to be able to help sell their beef a little bit. I mean, their beef kind of goes back to when Brunson, this is according to Holland, that Brunson wanted to train against Holland back at UFC 230 when he would fight Izzy. Holland turned him down because he thought they would eventually fight. That's just smart from a business decision. And then after Holland destroyed Anthony Hernandez, Brunson said he dropped him on his head. And then kind of led to a little bit more from that. And also, Kevin Holland has been vocal about this, that he wants to beat up Derek Brunson because of his awkward style and it's disrespectful to striking. So I really love Kevin Holland here, but Blake, we might be able to have this fight still, but Kevin Holland did announce that, at least on Twitter, he made it known that he wants to fight Leon Edwards. A middleweight wants to move down to welterweight on short notice to fight this guy, a guy that had 5 wins in 2020. How likely is this?
I mean, it's kind of tough, I think, because it's kind of the same situation that we were just talking about with the Vicente Luque. In Edwards' mind, it's high risk, very low reward. There's nothing that's going to benefit him from beating a Kevin Holland. It is for the hardcore, maybe not even hardcore, but just the fans in the know. I think everyone would respect that if he took that fight and beat him. But in the business aspect of things, he's going to beat a guy that's, I'm pretty sure he's going to be unranked coming over into welterweight. Not sure how many times he's fought in that division in his career. I'm sure he's been there, though. He wouldn't just put his name in the hat if he hasn't fought there. Exactly. And he's not even like that high ranked in the middleweight division. I mean, I guess he's top 10. He's top 10.
Yeah, he's a 10 going against number 7 Brunson.
It's tough, man. Because and another thing that really throws a monkey wrench into this is Holland already is scheduled now for a main event. A main event. The card is built around him and Brunson. Yeah. Fight night in March. And that's going to be, about 2 months on the dot, pretty much. Because I want to say it was like March 20th,
March 20th, yeah. So it's
that fight would be on the 20th of January, right?
So, 2 months, exactly.
2 months on the dot. And I'm sorry, but fighting Leon Edwards, 5-round, main event, unless you get him out of there quickly, you're probably going to take a little bit of damage.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do the Holland Edwards fight, you're probably losing the Holland Brunson fight in all likelihood.
It's a really tough situation for both these fighters and the UFC.
If you look at the welterweight rankings, nothing interests me. And what would interest him? Like, it sucks. The only people that I would really be interested in him fighting is Jorge Masvidal, Gilbert Burns, or Colby Covington.
Not even Wonder Boy?
Of course, but he's out of the picture.
Yeah,
because
that medical suspension sucks.
I was gonna say, dude, yeah. Before we brought that,
that's like a perfect one.
Like, that's a good option.
It's a perfect one, but nope. It's a tough. This is kind of when I do not envy Sean Shelby in his job with UFC matchmaker, because this
is a cluster.
This is a tough little problem. If I had to bet money on this, I would just say that this main event. I hope not the card, but at least the main event, I think this whole thing is just getting scrapped. Man, I think they have to.
The whole card's getting scrapped?
Not the whole card, but at least the main event. It's tough though, because the card might go.
I think Edwards will fight for the right price and the right opponent.
I just don't know. He wants to
fight. He literally put out that he will fight. So if they offer him the right person, he will accept.
That's the thing. I just don't know if there's a second dancer for this fight.
I think someone like what if a Chiesa steps up or a Magny?
I believe Neil Magny and Michael Chiesa are actually supposed to be fighting each other.
Yeah, on that card. Forgot.
Yeah, so that's exactly all of the options are off. Jeff Neal against Leon Edwards, but then we go back to Jeff Neal's probably out. But then even with that whole thing, I mean, Leon Edwards probably wouldn't want to fight that because it doesn't do much for him. He wouldn't want to go
any further than Stephen Thompson.
The weird thing with Kevin Holland is that from a fighter perspective, I totally understand this, especially Kevin Holland. He's a guy that just goes out and scraps with anyone, anywhere, anytime. And I love that about him. But if you look at it, I mean, he has that fight with Derek Brunson. A good win over Brunson might be able to propel him at least right up there next to the top 5, if not in the top 5. Probably not, but he could get dangerously close right there. Maybe one fight away from a title shot, depending on how things go. But if he goes to the welterweights, that's a whole top heavy right there. It's just weird. This whole situation's weird.
Well, keep in mind, it's a business, bro. Holland isn't like most fighters. Like he doesn't care. In my opinion, from the outside looking in, I'm sure that he would love to have the belt. But keep in mind, this is his job. Like, he understands this is how I get paid. I pay my bills. Like, I buy my house with this money. So I feel like he is more after, what's my best opportunity to put fucking money on my table, and provide for my family. And I think that's the route he's going, and that's why nothing scares him. And he's not going to shy away from any of these huge opportunities that you don't see everyone pounding the table for. You only see a couple, 2 or 3 guys here and there, really asking for these guys on short notice. Mm-hmm. And Kevin Holland, always one of those guys, 100% of the time. So it's hard not to root for a guy like that, hard not to pull for a guy like that, a guy that when he first came out, I didn't really know what to think of him. I just kind of thought he was kind of a jerk off a little bit, but the more we got to know him a little bit and, hear his story and see his personality, like I've really started to enjoy everything about the guy. I mean, the guy he comes to work and he just puts his hard hat on and gets to business, but he talks shit while he's doing it. And that makes it even, 1,000 times more enjoyable. So it's tough, man. It's a tough situation for both divisions. The Leon Edwards versus Khamzat Chimaev falling out is probably the worst thing that could have happened right now.
Chimaev's turning into a killer, man. Like outside the octagon, he's turning into a fight killer.
Could have happened.
He was on such a hot streak too. Like
now,
he had all the momentum.
I feel like welterweight and lightweight kind of, I don't know, like they just kind of messed with each other. We got that bad juju vibes going over to the welterweight division,
right? Is it going to spread? Lightweight. I swear, if this spreads to the middleweights, I'm going to be furious.
Yeah, no, we just keep it where it's at. Just figure it out, and then
let's quarantine this problem. Let's make sure it doesn't spread.
We need to socially distance this problem.
And it's why you talk about the welterweights and the lightweights, because let's talk about, for most people, this is their MMA GOAT in Georges St. Pierre. He posted on Twitter the morning of recording this, the 29th of December. He says that he's with a new year, new team, announcement coming tomorrow, so probably December 30th. And he posted a picture with him in training with the boxing gloves on inside the cage. So, Blake, does this mean that we're getting GSP versus Khabib Nurmagomedov?
It's either that or Jake Paul.
GSP versus Jake Paul. Let's go.
It's got to be either Khabib or Jake Paul.
Those yeah, the boxing gloves on.
The table. Yeah, that's the boxing gloves are on, so that's why I'm leaning towards Jake Paul.
Oh, out of nowhere, we saw stuff with Michael Bisping. We saw stuff with supposed to be Ben Askren. We saw him calling out Conor McGregor with Dylan Dennis. But we're getting GSP will come out of retirement to fight Jake Paul in a boxing ring.
Dude, that would be sweet.
Wouldn't that be the biggest curveball in MMA in like boxing combat sports history?
It wouldn't be a very fun press conference. I think it would be very similar, I think, to the Bisping and GSP buildup, you know, where BSP is just BSP. Bisping is just kind of shitting on GSP the whole time, you know.
To be honest, GSP had some good things in there, but it's also, I mean, you just don't kind of get that smack talk from GSP.
It's hard to keep up with Bisping's banter, though, you know.
Bisping is phenomenal.
He's great. Underrated, I think. Him and Chael Sonnen and McGregor are all up there.
That's the top three right
Kevin
there.
Holland, even, you know.
Kevin Holland's inching there. I could probably put
I would love to see Kevin Holland in a freaking press conference.
And let's
like one of those big old, like before the Rona days where we used to have the summer press conferences. Where who the fuck is that guy came out?
I miss those so much. That's probably one of the.
God.
Those would be so funny right now. Oh my.
Dude, like, imagine a Hamzat up there, man. I'll smash you. I'll smash all of you.
Oh, I think that's the biggest loss of the whole pandemic is we don't get those giant press conferences because of some of the fights we had. The Covington versus Woodley would have been amazing on the press rounds. Oh.
Man, I still don't understand why Covington didn't take that fight when it was first offered to him. He would have had that belt.
He would have had that belt, but it's still next year he's going to get that belt anyway. That's one of my predictions. We'll get to more of those in our end of the year wrap up show though. But with this, another thing we're talking about, Blake. I mean, there's been word for probably 2-3 years now, mostly about putting a new weight class into the UFC at the 165 level. Have a nice like difference there between the lightweights and the welterweights. This has been an idea that Dana White has himself talked about, not really in the lightest terms. It's probably not going to happen. But the biggest question we have to ask is if GSP is going to be fighting Khabib, is he what weight class is this going to be at? Because I think the only way that this fight happens is if the lightweight title is on the line. But I don't know if GSP drops down to 155 because remember the last time he did that he had the digestive disease, I believe, when he was talking about his time with the JRE. And so is he able to drop back down to 155 at this point in his life anyway?
That's a great question that probably he only knows the answer to. If I had to guess what weight class they're fighting at, if they are fighting, I would think it would have to be either a catch weight or a welterweight. I don't know what he'd have to gain by going to lightweight. I mean,
but
I guess he'd be 3 champ.
You kind of need a triple weight class champ would be amazing. But of course, probably another thing where he did in his middleweight and fight with Bisping, he goes in, wins, and then just retires, which is whatever. Yeah, but
that's what I was going to get to is if we do this 165-pound division, and it's presumably going to be Khabib's last fight and GSP's last fight for like the 5th time. So you're like that division's already killed right there. Like the champ is already killed.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I like after we were talking this morning, I kind of thought about that and I was like, yeah, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I feel like, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of stuck in the middle. I really don't know what they're going to do. I feel like a catch weight would be just as successful as having a belt on the line. But I mean, I do get the allure of a belt. It does give a little bit more, you know, shine to that bout, but I don't think you need to do that. But if he thinks that he can confidently make 155, why not? Sign me up. Let's see it. Let's see who's the best, who's the GOAT.
Right? It's where with these. Oh, that's the thing though. It's literally whoever wins that fight is the greatest MMA fighter of all time. That lays the debate to rest 100%.
It's never going to be laid to the rest. But.
Yeah. Sorry, it's MMA. There's no debate that's ever going to be laid to rest. Even if it does actually happen, because of course, if GSP loses, then it's because he was retired and stuff like that.
There's always excuses. There's always reasons. Blah 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 blah.
Man, it's hard though. I really want to. It's tough. It's tough this because at one point GSP has been like that only MMA fighter that has actually stayed retired after he's committed to it. Khabib has a chance to do that now. It's looking a little less likely, especially with this upcoming meeting with Dana White. Probably whatever. So it's tough. I want to see this as like a spectacle. I'm really curious to see how this plays out, like inside the octagon as a fight. But also, I don't think I want to see any of these. I don't want to see these two fighters back again. I'd rather just see them stay retired because GSP did almost perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I don't think it's going to be the most entertaining fight. I really don't. I don't think they're going to stand there and bang. Yeah, I think it's going to be, like, a really good grappling match and maybe with some ground and pound.
So throw this on Submission Underground.
Right?
Which is an underrated program, too, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see if it happens, but him being with a new team, it does lead me to believe that he is serious about possibly making a return, so... We'll see in the near future what the near future holds. After that meeting with Khabib, we'll probably get a much better idea of all the options on the table.
Right. And then this whole lightweight kind of stuff should be able to sort itself out sometime soon because there's been like a mess ever since Khabib, let's put in quotes, retired and then never gave up the belt and still might be coming back. We just don't really know for sure.
Dana never gave up the belt. Khabib is all cool with everything. He doesn't care.
Right.
But he just,
the belt was never officially vacated. Khabib has not officially retired. He's still in the USADA testing pool. But at least at UFC 257 in January, we get Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, and the thing is though is that Khabib actually came out and said today that he believes that fight is going to be the winner of that fight is going to fight for the lightweight belt. So does that mean he's planning on fighting one of those two fighters?
I don't think so.
Or do you think he's just speculating out of the picture?
I think if McGregor goes out there and sparks Poirier again, I think that drives up the hype machine again. But it's the ball's completely in Khabib's court. Like if he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't have to fight. He's done everything he needs to do and could possibly want to do. Like McGregor is, he's gonna do what he's gonna do regardless. If Khabib comes back, it's probably just gonna be for one fight. So I think it's going to be – I think that the GSP, since he's already beat all these guys, the GSP is probably what he would desire the most.
We'll see, Blake.
In terms of his legacy.
Let me get your opinion on this then. So assuming Conor McGregor goes out, has a good fight, and beats Dustin Poirier in January, what fight is more appealing to you? The fight with GSP and Khabib or the rematch with McGregor and Khabib?
Probably the rematch with Khabib and McGregor. Just because there's so much bad blood. I want to see what's going to happen. Like, is McGregor going to make, the necessary corrections? Is he going to be more focused this time?
Can we get a motivated Conor McGregor?
Not going to be freaking drunk at the press conferences and coked up or whatever the hell that was going on. that was ridiculous.
Yeah, I pulled that page out of the Johnny Bones Jones playbook, man.
Like watching those press conferences back, like especially that the one where he was doing the shots of proper whiskey on the table and everything like that. It was wild, dude. Like in the moment, I was really enjoying it. I thought it was hilarious. But then watching it back, I kind of cringed. I was like, damn, dude, this guy was out of freaking control. Like it kind of got to his head a little bit, and I want to see
John Jones, man. It was weird.
Is he gonna be able to come back from that, and is he gonna be able to get over that hump and get back to what everyone thought he was? So that's why I think it would be a little bit more interesting than just the two quote unquote goats going at it, and a guy that's been retired for 2 years plus now.
That's fair. And then kind of to our last kind of talking point with this one is Blake. We were able to talk about this, and then we're finally able to talk about this in a published episode. But last week we had Anthony Pettis after beating Alex Morano, a guy that we interviewed, of course, on the UFC Vegas 17 card. He beat him through unanimous decision. Probably lost the first round and won the next two. Looked good in the showing against a solid competitor there in his welterweight division. He then goes off, is kind of the pencil letter to the UFC, and that was his last fight as a UFC fighter. He finished out his contract. And then 2 days later, he goes out and he signs a contract with PFL. And so this is somewhat of a significant signing. This might be the biggest name in PFL history, a former UFC champion, the guy that used to be something like 18-2 before he hit his kind of stretch. He's now on a little bit of a streak. He beat Cowboy Cerrone, and now he's beating Morano, and now he signs with PFL into a place where he might be able to win another championship in just that 12-month season. What do you think of this signing, Blake?
I think it's a great signing. I was a little surprised. I thought I was leaning more towards Bellator just because of the family ties.
Yeah.
But
could that be a reason that he didn't? Whereas basically want to do something different?
I don't know. I think he just went with probably whatever he thought because like we were talking earlier, this is their career, like this is how they make money. Mm-hmm. He probably went for the best case scenario for him and who was offering him the most money. The most money, the most notoriety, the most he's going to be their biggest ticket in PFL. They're going to be advertising the hell out of that guy.
Oh yeah.
He's going to be their Paige Van Zandt, bare knuckle FC. So I think he's going to be their marquee guy. He's probably going to get paid handsomely. And then if he wins the championship, that's a mil. That's a milli right there.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, he's probably making close to probably $100K, maybe around this time, maybe former champion, maybe making a couple $100K from his UFC fights. In 12 months, and maybe 3 or 4 times a year. In 1 year, he can make more than all of that, which is crazy. And then become a champion again. And the thing for PFL, I think no matter what happens with him, this is a win-win situation because either he comes in and he wins a championship and you're able to promote the hell out of that, or he loses. Hopefully to the guy that eventually becomes a champion, and then you could give that guy kind of in pro wrestling talk the rub or the push from that, and then promote the hell out of that. Because anyway, I think this is great for PFL. Kind of a good thing for UFC too. Anthony Pettis out the books. He's a great fighter, former champion, but
he's costly. He's costly, and he's seen probably his best days.
Exactly.
He could have one more run in him, but. If you look at that lightweight division,
it's not happening.
Not to be a douche, but I don't think anyone's really crying that he's leaving. And all respect to the dude. I love watching him fight. Cowboy fight was great. His last fight was phenomenal with Alex Morano.
We were almost a year ago today, a couple weeks ago, he had the Showtime kick. Yeah,
the Wonder Boy Superman knockout, Superman punch knockout. Jeez. He's had a lot of good moments. I think it's going to be probably refreshing for him to go into a new organization, get a fresh start, get some new faces around him,
I love this, man. And also from the UFC too, this is a good move because in the UFC contracts, typically there's a period where they can't talk to anyone, or the UFC has the ability to match any offer that a fighter is given in free agency. So, and we didn't have any of this. So apparently, maybe behind closed doors, UFC waived this, and they were just, it was a good parting, which was nice. All too often, we see these kind of harsh burn bridges departures from the UFC. Especially, I think the biggest one would probably be Chris Cyborg to Bellator. So there's this nice, easy split, and it's going to be beneficial for both companies long term. I really do believe that.
Right.
And I'm excited for this because, admittedly, I've only watched one PFL event, and that was on New Year's last year, so almost a year ago. Yeah, I was watching.
That's where Dustin Gaethje came from, right?
Yeah, I do know. It's because I just found that out. They were on ESPN. I was watching their card where all the champions were being crowned.
I want to say Josh Emmett fought in there too, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not.
But I got PFL is a great up and coming organization. There might be, at least in the States, a little more popular than ONE FC. Of course, UFC is going to be the top. Bellator is probably going to be second, but PFL is up there. They're building a good company right now. And this is definitely going to bring way more eyes to the program, and this is definitely going to bring at least my eyes, myself, too, to be able to try to watch some more PFL, because they got legitimate good fighters that come from there, too. That's how UFC gets a lot of their fighters from PFL, so I'm excited for this. I really am.
Oh, yeah, me too.
You know, but man, this day with UFC has been absolutely crazy. We're probably going to get a bunch of crazy news, especially time recording. We don't know what the hell GSP is going to be talking about. We don't know what his announcement is. It's all pure speculation at this point. So I'm super excited to be able to figure out what we're going to hear from him the day after recording this. So Blake, fingers crossed. It's something newsworthy and doesn't make this whole thing look stupid.
Right.
Because I remember last time we did this, we were talking, what is
Anthony Johnson?
What's Rumble going to do in the UFC? The day after, signs out of nowhere with Bellator, a company that they said were out of the Rumble stakes or whatever. The same thing with Yoel. That was. Can we just get Yoel versus Rumble already? Can we just make that reality?
Soon enough.
Not soon enough.
Let's give him a fight, and then we'll get him matched up.
Oh, that'd be fun, especially with Submission Underground. We're talking about this too. Ryan Bader got a win over Rumble with that one, and what Chael was describing, Chaelson was describing as a street fight without any punches. So honestly, I'm super excited for this whole kind of MMA war is getting shaken up between PFL, between Bellator against some big names now too. And then with the UFC still cranking along, I mean, the MMA is just in a fantastic spot right now, you know?
A lot going on.
Exactly. And Blake, you know, as we say with every show, it's a great time to be a fight fan, right?
Yes, sir. It is indeed.
And with that being said, guys, that's going to wrap it for us. Like I talked about at the beginning of the show, go make sure to check out our recent interviews. I mean, Smiling Sam Alvey, amazing guy. Sasha Platnikov won 5 night bonus on his debut to the UFC. Throwback one we did a while ago was Josh Emmett after his fight with Shane Burgos, and then we're just so much stuff. I mean, Corey McKenna is going to be a name you're going to want to watch out for, because she's going to be something good in that UFC women's division. But before we sign things off, let's thank our Patreon supporters. Ray Rodriguez, follow his Instagram at Big Bat Bach for all your car collecting needs. Check out Ryan Watson, and then also Neil Wiley. Check out his YouTube, Chosen Problems. Thank you guys so much for your support. And to be a part of this list, you can go on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/4thandlong, and it's just $1 a month, so super fun, easy stuff. Get some merch too, like this fantastic looking sweatshirt or the poster behind me. And there's my shill. Blake, thanks for tuning in, our UFC correspondent. Appreciate your time. And what are you looking forward most in 2021?
I thought we were saving these questions for the next episode.
No, I just want to get it right now. Give us an ending thought to think about.
Excited for most, like UFC related, obviously.
Anything MMA.
It's gotta be McGregor. I'm excited to see bald McGregor. See him go back to his roots and start knocking people out again. Let's see it. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. We'll be recording our end of the year award show very soon. Let us know what you think about that. Check out our Instagram at 4thandlong Radio for updates on that, to get some fan interaction, get your thoughts on that. But Blake, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time in our end of the year award show, and we'll have a good one, guys. Catch you in the next one.